Hello everyone, welcome back to the Spotlight. It has been a while since I've made one of these videos. Like I've said before, I know probably most channels make loads of subs over the transfer window, but to me, I just can't be asked to keep talking about the same stuff over and over again until it's actually happened. But we'll get into this video and my realistic take on Man United's transfer window, what I think of it, and what I think about us going into the next or into the actual season. So first of all, Sesko. I've talked about Sesko before. I think he is a very good addition to our team. We clearly needed a striker. Rasmus isn't good enough, in my opinion. Do I think Sesko is the answer? Well, I think we've got to wait and see. I think 65 million's an okay price for him. 13 goals in the Bundesliga. Hardly prolific, is it? Coming into the Premier League, which is a much harder league. My main issue with Sesko is he doesn't look like an out-and-out goal scorer. Okay, he might be a bit better at holding the ball up. Yes, he's a runner. Yes, he's strong. If he's good at linking play, maybe he can get away with it. But for me, we don't have strikers who play in the box and get goals like Watkins, Haaland, strikers like that who just are in the box and score goals. To me, Sesko looks like a better version of Rasmus, who likes to take the ball down and run with it, and he's got a powerful shot on him. He doesn't look like an intricate movement type striker who's going to be in the 18-yard box every time we go forward and he's making intelligent movement to get goals in the box. Sesko, for me, is a 50-50 whether he'll work or flop. I'll back him. Hopefully he works. Am I over excited about Sesko? The answer to that is no, based on his previous statistics in Germany. There's not many people who come from Germany, even with huge numbers, who succeed in the Premier League. So someone with average numbers, the jury's out. Mbeumo and Cunha, I think, are both very good signings. Extremely good number 10s, forwards. Everybody's talked about loads. I'm not going to dwell on them. I'm more excited about Mbeumo than I am Cunha, but both of them are very good signings. My problem with those two signings is we've spent £120 million on two number 10s. We've still got Bruno Fernandes, who is a number 10. He's not a midfielder. And I know a lot of people are catching on to this now, but if you go back into my videos from last season, the season before, or whatever, I've told everyone millions of times Bruno's not a midfielder, and finally people are actually coming on board with the fact. He played there half of last season, we finished 15th. He can do it versus poor sides, which is why he was all right in the Europa League, which is why he was all right at it versus the bottom end of the Premier League, and that's where he got most of his goals and assists from. And he was okay against Fiorentina the other day because they're a physical team who sat back and they're not got any running power. I also do not believe that Bruno will work in midfield, even if we bought Baleba, which looks like it probably might happen, but I think we're all getting very carried away about who we've bought and where we're going to finish, because that's the three main ins. Two number 10s, and we've already got Mount Bruno, Ahmad who can play 10, Xerxes. We've got so many players in and around there, and our main player we could have sold for £100 million is a 10. Our manager thinks he can play in midfield when, from what I've seen for the numerous years of watching Bruno Fernandes, I've never, ever seen him play in midfield. And don't come back at me and says he does it for Portugal, because that's international football, which is also crap, which I just mentioned before. He can do it against crap teams. And it's a three-man midfield, so he's got two people there to cover up Bruno's shortcomings in midfielders. Because you need to remember, we're playing a two-man midfield versus extremely physical, strong, running Premier League teams. And even in Sunday League matches, a 2 versus 3 midfield doesn't work. So how do we think we're going to get away with this? Well, at the minute, we haven't got Baleba. So the Agate Casemiro Maino and Bruno. Maino and Bruno for me are not 8s or 6s. And Casemiro, as good as he was and as much as I like him, he's finished. And Agate, I've said that on my channel the whole time since he's been here and all. He is just Fred from Uruguay. He's exactly the same. Runs around, tackles. Soon as he gets the ball, his legs goes crossed and he don't know what to do with it. And that is that. That is the signings. So what do I think of the window so far based on the signings? I like the players. Do I think we've fixed the problems? No. The midfield is a huge issue we haven't addressed for about 10 years at this club, and we still haven't addressed it. And putting Bruno back there with anyone is not addressing that midfield. Even if we get Baleba and Bruno is playing next to him, expect us to lose games because of the midfield. The worry I have is we spend 100 million on Baleba. Everyone calls him a flop. Everyone says he's crap. Everyone says he's rubbish because he's a one-man midfield because Bruno's gone trotting off to right back or right wing. Or every time he gets the ball, he hoofs it up front and loses the ball and Baleba's having to run back to his own goal to cover his crap passing. That's my worry for Baleba. Not that he's a good player and he's worth the money. It's that he will be massively exposed in our midfield and the media, the fan base will get on his back straight away when it goes wrong. As for the outgoings, obviously Rashford's gone to Barcelona with a buy option. See you later, Rashford. Never want to see you again. That's a good thing. Garnacho and Sancho. Honestly, what is going on with them two? We all know about Sancho. Roma are in for him. 20 million quid. Just get him out. Take 10. We already got 5 back from Chelsea. He's on 300 grand a week. Just take anything to get him out the club. And as for Garnacho holding out for Chelsea, personally, I don't see what Chelsea's seeing him. He's not that good and he's got huge attitude problems. I think Chelsea only want him if they get him for about 40 million and they can integrate him into the team for a year or two and they'll sell him again. I don't think Chelsea want Garnacho as a player to play for their team. I think they just see him as an investment like they do with loads of other youth players. Luke Shaw's obviously back. I think he's looked pretty poor. We've obviously got Dorgu, who's looked all right in pre-season. Ahmad's obviously back. I mean, the defence, I think we can get away with the defence as it is now, but I know Ricky on the United stand said we need a centre-back, and I get what he's saying, and people say he's crazy. But I've said this on FUTV and some other channels loads of times that if we want to play this progressive passing possession football that's high line, I'm afraid De Ligt, Maguire, Martinez are not in that team because they've got no recovery pace. And if you want to play on the halfway line as a back three, one of your centre-backs needs to step into midfield to make that so-called midfield three. None of ours are good enough on the ball. And then none of them have got the recovery pace to, especially with Bruno and that in midfield, giving the ball away to get back in transition. It'll be very interesting, the start of this season, and I don't want this video to go on for ages, so I'm going to talk about the season, and I've been talking about it with my mates this morning. Like, there's a lot of Man United fans out there getting excited because it was goals we struggled with and we've got these players in. Pre-season didn't show us that we can score goals. And I know Sesko wasn't there, but we drew 0-0 with Leeds. Yes, we beat Bournemouth 4-1, but they basically played into our hands. We were poor versus West Ham and managed to win because I think a penalty won it, basically. 2-2 versus Everton. And I think Everton were a way better side than us for that whole game. I think we got another penalty in that game, didn't we? Then the Fiorentina game at Old Trafford was pedestrian poor. Fiorentina are not a good side and we're drawn with them 1-1. and it was an own goal. So we're not scoring goals based on what we've seen in pre-season. And everyone will say, oh, well, Sesko's going to come in now. But I've just said about Sesko, he scored 13 goals in the Bundesliga. Are we expecting Sesko to score 20, 25 goals in his first season in the Premier League? No chance. If he gets 15, he's had a very good season. And there's a lot riding on these first 5 games. Who we got? Arsenal, Fulham, Burnley, City and Chelsea. The hype of this pre-season and transfer window will be gone after 5 games if we do not start well, because we could easily lose to Arsenal, Chelsea and City, and we could draw with Fulham. And you come out of the first 5 games with 4 or 5 points when people like Liverpool, City, Chelsea, and I know that's not who we're competing with, will likely have 12 or 15 points. You're already 8 or 9 points off the top. And there's a lot of people out there saying if we get Baleba and a keeper or a midfielder and a keeper, we should be aiming for top 4. We finished 15th last season. We've bought in 3 forward players to play a forward player in midfield. Okay, we might buy in a good midfielder. We've still got Onana and Bayindir in goal. And even if we got that Lemons, I still think Onana would start in goal. So how do we build up from the back to the front with the same defence and the same poor on-the-ball midfield? We're going to be the same team, but hopefully the strikers are able to put the ball in the net more than we could last season. That is what we're hoping for this season, really. Let's be honest. We're going to play the same basketball, football, but we're going to hope the better quality up front gets us more goals. That's the way I see this season going. And I don't think it will lead to any sort of consistency. I think we will still win a game, lose a game. Win 2 games, lose a game. Lose 2 games, win a game. Because I still think we'll be a back-to-front team. We're not going to be a controlling, possession-based team who smother teams and score 2 or 3 goals. I just don't see it. And I saw Roy Keane saying he expects us to finish 8th or 9th. And I actually think that is where we're going to finish. We should be aiming for the top 4. The minimum Man United should aim for is Champions League top 4. But we were 15th. We've bought, at the moment when I make this video, we've bought 3 attacking players and nobody else. We will struggle to break the top 6. I personally think if we get in the Europa League in 6th place, it's a good season from where we were. However, with the way everything's getting hyped with all of our talk of transfers, and if these transfers get done, and everybody thinks with all the money we've spent, and Amorim now having a pre-season and time with the players and to embed his system, because let's not pretend here, Amorim's excuses for 5 wins in 25 last year was he didn't want to come. These are not his players. He hasn't had a pre-season. Well, now he's had a pre-season. He's got players that he wants. He's had time to embed his formation. He's been here for 8, 9 months now. Nobody's telling me he ain't embedded this system. They've been playing it for months. But he's still got half the old squad, everybody will say. Well, it's not an excuse anymore. You've trained him. I expect us to lose games still, but we have to see progression in this system. Because if it comes to Christmas and we're 10th, 11th, 12th, there's going to be huge pressure on Amorim because his excuses are not there anymore. And everybody will say, well, he didn't get all his key positions in the summer. He chose to buy 2 number 10s and not sell a number 10 for 100 million. And you'll all say the club said that. No, Amorim allowed Bruno 2 or 3 weeks to make a decision whether he wanted to go or not, and he said, no, I want to stay. How about as a manager and as a club, you put your foot down and you say, we need 100 million quid, and you get him out? Whether you like Bruno or not taking 100 million pounds for Bruno Fernandes when you've bought 2 number 10s to play in his position is insane. So, my thoughts and predictions on this season. Based on us only having the 3 players we've got in now, I think we're going to struggle to finish in the top 6. So I'm going to say we're going to finish 8th, 7th or 8th. Why is my focus off on my camera? We're going to finish 7th or 8th. If we get Baleba and a keeper, I think we can aim for top 6. I think 5th and above, so anywhere in the Champions League spots, because 5th probably will be a Champions League spot for the English teams again. If we finish in 5th or above, we've had an exceptional season that people will expect us to continue the next season when we've then got European football. So we'll need to spend big again on the squad. Everybody's riding on that we've got no European football. We've got 1 game a week. We should be able to compete. Possibly we can. You let me know in the comments where you expect us to finish. But if we do no more business, I expect 7th or 8th. If we do more business with a midfielder and a keeper, 5th or 6th max. But 6th has to be the minimum target. We must be back in Europe, whether it's the Europa League or Champions League. I'm trying to stay positive here, but realistic, because I don't want us to expect to be winning the league or definitely in top 4 and we end up 8th and everyone has a meltdown and Amorim ends up getting sacked. That's what I'm trying to avoid. I'm trying to make the expectation realistic so when we don't hit those highs, everybody's not losing their mind. So personally, my expectation is 6th to 8th, and I think that should be where we're finishing. Anything below 8th is a catastrophe, and anything above 5th or above is a very good season. That's where I'm going to leave it now. Tell me in the comment, where do you think we'll finish, and what do you think of United's transfer window so far? Poosh.